So I'm going to give you guys a quick introduction, like the quickest introduction to password cracking that I possibly can, so that you might be able to use it in your Metasploitable activity. So first objective, I'm going to explain how passwords are stored in systems. Then I'm going to differentiate between online and offline password cracking techniques. Then I'm going to introduce Hydra for online password cracking. So first, passwords are stored by hashing, which we've seen before. It maps data to a string of fixed length. It's one way, so the original data cannot be ascertained by the hashing output in most cases. We've used it in the past to verify file integrity. You know, when you were downloading Kali, you matched the hash of your downloaded file to that provided by kali.org to ensure that it wasn't tampered with. So we've used hashing before, but it's also used to store passwords, generally with this idea called salting, which is adding a unique value to the data before you hash it. So here's a quick example of that. You see, without the salt, the password gets converted to that big long hash right there. This is, I used SHA-256 for that. But with the salt, you input the password, the computer adds the salt, which I just called salt in all caps, and then converts password plus the salt to the hash and then stores the hash. So that is how salting works. And generally, when you attempt to log in, it converts the password that you input to, it adds the hash and then tries to see if the hash matches the stored hash. So that's how passwords work. Now, there are two different basic types of attacks that you can do, offline and online attacks. For offline attacks, you have to have access to the target's password hashes. This allows you to bypass password attempt limits, and it's often faster because it's not limited by network speed either. So for online attacks, you are taking your host computer and attacking the target computer across a network usually. So you don't need the password hash, but you are limited by your network speed, and it's often slower than offline password cracking, as I mentioned before. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Hydra. So Hydra is a tool that does online password cracking. You can use either dictionary or brute force attacks, and it's packaged with Kali Linux. There's both a GUI and a command line option, as I'm shown here. And I have a couple little resources for you guys in case you might be interested in learning more about it. But without further ado, I'm going to show you how to crack passwords with Hydra. So I have this little Raspberry Pi set up. You can see here I've connected to it with VNC. Let me get my IP address real quick. So you can see right here, it's 192.168.122. And I'm going to show you guys how to crack SSH with it, because I did a little scan on it with ZenMap. And I can show you guys the open ports real quick. Another cool thing is that ZenMap lets you save scans, so you don't have to keep scanning and rescanning with Nmap again. So you can see I had already scanned my target, and you can see there is a port 22 SSH open and the VNC connection that I was using previously to show you my Raspberry Pi. So we're going to go for SSH. Close out of that. And there's two ways to access Hydra. You can do it right from the command line using Hydra, and this is just the help page, or you can go to the start page of Kali, to password attacks, to online attacks, and this is the command line version of Hydra, and this is the GUI version. I'm going to use the command line one. And I want to do a dictionary attack against my Raspberry Pi. So I have these things called word lists over here. So it's just a text file that contains usernames, and then I have another one that contains passwords. There are different options. You can use one text file that is separated by a colon like this, but there are other options that allow you to use just different usernames or passwords like I have here. Kali also comes preloaded with a bunch of different word lists that you can use. You might want to investigate those a little more, but I've created these ones on my own because I don't want to spend a ton of time demoing Hydra to you. So I'm not going to use one of those word lists that have millions and millions of passwords. So I just put a couple in here. Very simple ones, very basic. And these are the users that I would be trying to use. So the command I would use is Hydra, capital L to specify my user list. If I wanted just one user, I would do a lowercase l, like the example says here. And then a capital P for my password list. And I forgot that I'm not at my desktop, so I have to put desktop before that. And then I have to specify my IP address, which is 192.168.122, and then the port or the protocol. So in this case, it's just SSH. And then I'm ready to hit enter. Okay, I guess I have to CD to my desktop anyway. And because it said file not found. And I'll try it again. It's users.txt. And it's running. And you see it has found a login and a password. It's still trying the rest. And it just completed the list. So it found one valid password. And that is the quick intro to Hydra and password cracking.
Very nice. Very nice. I like the disclaimer. Don't use a military or secret service organization or for illegal purposes.
Yeah, that was made by the developers.
Any questions for Emma? Comments, feedback?
The whole Hydra thing is very, very cool. I when I was attempting it, I realized that the file that they already have on Kali with stored passwords, like you were warned me about before, it's ginormous. So you really got to filter in what you're looking for, or else you're going to be spending days and days letting the program run.
Excellent point, James.
That's actually how brute force works in real life, especially, you know, providing input with longer, with more users, more passwords, and keep on going until something is exposed or we get a hit. So that's great. But you can do that, and you can explain how you. It's awesome.
All right. Yeah, Kali does come with some word lists. I think the one you were talking about, James, would have been RockU.
Yes.
Yeah, RockU has like some 14 million passwords. So it takes forever. If you're using a password list and username list like that, that's called a dictionary attack. But there's also like a brute force option, like John was saying, where you don't really use any of these dictionaries. It just tries every combination of specified like length of letters, numbers, what have you. So
Excellent demo. Thank you.
I'm going to stop sharing now.